Image properties in Photo Fusion refer to things such as brightness and contrast. The quickest way to get at these attributes is by selecting an object and then working with the image control here as part of the toolbox map. You simply bring your mouse over the image part of this little diagram, press the mouse button down, and as you drag to the left and right, you'll be adjusting the brightness. As you drag up and down, you'll be adjusting the contrast. Sometimes that gives you enough control. It's certainly quick to get at. On the occasions where you need to work a little bit more carefully, you click instead of dragging on this area, and that brings up the image editor. The kind of things that you can do in here include blurring. You simply press on the blur control and drag to the right and to the left to increase and decrease the amount of blur that you see. Gamma is a way to bring up the midtones of the image, adjusting not the black and not the white, but only the midtones in the background. For example, to bring out more detail in the trees in the background without washing out the bride's dress. By the way, you can get at that quickly without needing to bring up the editor. Simply select the frame and control drag on the image tab, and you'll be adjusting the gamma directly instead of the brightness and the contrast. Working our way down, you have access to black and white. You can dial up how much of this effect you want to apply. So just by tapering the black and white off a little bit, you get a faded photograph effect. Similarly, there's a sepia tone effect, which again you can control the intensity of like this. Finally, you can do some coarse color adjustments by dragging the amount of green in the image around like this. I'm moving it very quickly, of course, but if you ever find yourself lost and not happy with where you've found the colors, you can click here and say restore all to default, and that will bring back the settings of the original photograph. You can also blend in a color. That's not quite the same thing as adjusting the color balance within the image itself. You can say I'd rather blend in some white, for example. If you bring the white all the way up, you get a white image, of course, but by feathering it back, you get a look like this. And you can use the color chip to determine which color you want to blend in. This is a series of tiles which allow you to blend in a tiling graphical image. I'm going to work with the batik swirl image that we see here. This is a tiled image which you can blend all the way from nothing to completely replacing the photograph in the frame. I'm going to make it fairly opaque so you can see what's happening. When I bring up the scale, you'll see that the tile increases in scale in the background. I'll bring it back down. You can also adjust the amount of blur. So why would you do these sorts of things? Well, if you were to swap this with the background, I'll drag this image and place it in the background, and then frame up the background and look at some of the things that we can do. I might want to blur the background a little bit, bring up the gamma to make it lighter, and make it slightly black and white. Now I've got an interesting background, and I could put, for example, another copy of this frame in the foreground so that your eye is aware of the fact that there's something going on in the background, but your attention is drawn to the foreground. Of course, everything is non-destructive, meaning that I can select the background and continue to pan and crop even though it's had all of these various effects applied to it. If you're not happy with something about the image that you can't correct using these controllers here, then you can always use another application to edit it. You choose Edit, and this allows you to loop through another application such as Photoshop. If you don't see the application you want, then you click on Manage, and this will ask you to find an application on your hard drive in order to have it appear in this list. So you would click on Add, find the folder where your other application lives, and then when you're done, hit OK. As it is, I'm happy with going through Photoshop. I'll say Edit and choose Yes, Photoshop. That loads the image up into Photoshop, and now if I were to just very quickly make a mark, for example, if I were dust busting or painting out some skin conditions or whatever sort of plugins I like in Photoshop, no problem. When I'm done, I hit Save, go back to Photo Fusion by Alt-tabbing. I see the marks that were made in Photoshop. They're part of the frame, and of course, everything being non-destructive, I can continue to work and edit and drop shadows and so on that image, which was looped through Photoshop.